where news comes first. This is ABC-7 Extra.
It is Sunday, June 26th. Welcome to ABC-7 Extra. Good evening. I'm Stephanie Guadian. Thanks for being with us tonight. For the next half hour, we are going to take a close look at the controversy surrounding the proposed Shadow Mountain project in West El Paso. The 22-story tower would be built near the intersection of Mesa and Shadow Mountain. You will hear from the developers and from those who don't want the $100 million project in their backyard. The city's mayor and a city councilor also weighing in with their thoughts. Joining me tonight, developers Stuart and Josh Myers from the Myers Group, plus Lindsay Cronmiller and Charles Stapler from the watchdog group El Paso Bright. Both are against the project. And we want to hear from you tonight. You can email us your comments and questions to ABC7Extra at KVIA.com. You can also reach us at 915-496-1775, and on Twitter, just make sure to use the hashtag ABC7Extra. Well, just recently, the developer held a community rally to thank supporters of the proposed Shadow Mountain project, and for the very first time, we heard from the architect of the building that will tower above the nearby Coronado Tower. The rally was a chance for developer Josh Myers and his family to thank those in El Paso supporting the controversial project. The proposed location is near the intersection of Mesa and Shadow Mountain. The $100 million project includes retail space, 219 hotel rooms, 228 apartments, and a 715-car parking garage. So why West El Paso?
My wife's entire family lives here, starting with my mother-in-law, a lady in green. That's Tony Lama's widow, and my wife in the black, and her sister Dawn, who's married to Michael Gopin, a prominent attorney here in town.
Stuart Myers' other sister-in-law is Dory Finnenbach, EPISD board president. The architect of the project was also at the rally.
I think that here I'm creating an opportunity for people who live in the community to walk, to ride their bike, to come to this mixed-use development and use it for something that otherwise they wouldn't. People who live in the neighborhood usually get in the car and then they have to drive. I'm giving them an opportunity to just walk.
As expected, everyone at the rally was in support of the Shadow Mountain project.
It raises the property value of the entire area. And with the property value comes bigger taxes. And every city needs money right now.
But there are those who still have their doubts. They're worried about an increase in traffic and blocked views.
I think that's a little too close for them to have something like that. I could see maybe going someplace further.
But the Myers family is convinced now is the right time for a project of this scale, and El Paso is
Really on the verge of exploding. I think that there's tremendous opportunity for growth here.
And joining us now is Stuart and Josh Myers from the Myers Group. Thank you both for being with us tonight. We've met before. I've been at some of those informational meetings and rallies. You just talked about how you think El Paso's on the verge of an explosion in growth. But I want to ask you specifically, why West El Paso? Why did you choose that area?
Well, we feel that the community is very open to this type of development in terms of the area itself, the type of folks that we're going after an upscale project, something different than what has been brought to town before in the way of, rentals. And so we feel that the community has that type of residents that would feel free and feel comfortable living in a more upscale and frankly be willing to pay the price that it would require in terms of rents. So,
and what are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about a more upscale in terms of the money itself. Well, we're talking probably in the range of somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 a month, which is something pretty standard in many, many communities that you might seek apartments of the same quality. And we're offering a lot of amenities in the way of security, structured parking within a garage, valet services, and a whole host of other amenities that most projects and most communities that are rentals here in El Paso would not deliver.
Let me ask you, Josh, you tell me why you decided to build up as opposed to out.
Well, the first reason is because we wanted to have some green space around. Instead of just taking our whole lot and putting a building over the entire thing, we wanted to make more of a walkable feature. That way we have sidewalks, cafes, green space, trees, and things of that nature.
Have you closed yet on the land?
We have closed on the land. That was something that we felt was important to us in pursuing the things that we're pursuing with the city right now.
All right, so other than the apartments, you're going to have a hotel there, you're going to have some retail shops. You've said before that this is not just a building for those who live there. You really want this to be an attraction for those who live in the area.
Exactly. And being on this side of Mesa, it's also an opportunity to be able to bring some more local amenities for these residents, because currently if they do want to walk down, they would have to cross Mesa, which is a highly trafficked area, and people don't really feel comfortable doing that if they want to walk to Starbucks to get a cup of coffee or get an ice cream at the ice cream parlor across the street. If we were to build this development, then we would put a coffee shop and those type of amenities and on this side of the street, so that the residents would feel comfortable walking to our development.
Okay, so I know that you live in the area now. I work in this area. Traffic on a good day is very busy, and now we have the I-10 construction happening. The development of this project probably going to be at least a couple years in the making. What about traffic?
Well, undoubtedly when you have change and when you have development, you always have additional traffic. It's part of the growth of the city. It unfortunately cannot be avoided. And I think in terms of the development of the city and its growth, it's just something that we have to come to accept, and the city itself has to deal with. I might say that if this project were to be given over to an alternative use for which it's currently entitled and zoned, we feel that the impact would be much more severe, depending on what kind of commercial use it went over to. It could be as much as 5 to 10 times as much of an impact, because, as you know, people come in and out constantly from a commercial development, so that a residential development brings a lot less in terms of the impact from traffic. Other than that, I mean, I think, you know, it's endemic to the project that yes, there's going to be more project, but less than some of the alternatives that might apply.
Josh, I know there is some talk about maybe opening up another road to connect the two streets. Tell us about that.
Well, that was actually our architect Kobe Karp's idea. He's had a lot of experience with urban planning in his career, and he saw that since Pebble Beach does stop, if we were to acquire this property and develop it, then it would be a great idea to actually extend Pebble Beach through and then connecting to Mesa Street. And if you look at the original urban design of the streets that El Paso started from the beginning, those streets did go through. And then what happened is, when you have large big box companies like the Burlington Coat Factory, and they say, we want this piece of land, then they actually stop those streets. And that actually contributes to the congestion of traffic as well.
All right, so one of the questions I had is, I mean, this is a huge $100 million project. Why not do this in downtown El Paso?
Well, we feel that this area is really an extension of the corridor that the city has been trying to open up, vis-a-vis the Montecillo project, now the Whole Foods project up the street. There's a whole move afoot to probably put a considerable investment into the high school, which needs a redo. So, as well as the BART, BART is it called? I forgot.
Sun Metro?
The Metro rail, not the rail, but the bus route that goes up. Forgot the name of it. In any case, there's been a huge investment into this area, and we feel that our project will enhance that investment, will bring more users to ride the public transportation, more users to shop in the new markets like Whole Foods. It's part of the growth of the area, and we feel that it really brings a whole element of change, yes, but a whole element of alternative options for the residents.
This is really going to be something different for El Paso. You're really trying to make this a walking destination. We don't have a lot of projects like that in El Paso. One of the words that the architect used to describe this was an infill project. Can you explain that?
Sure, yes. What he means by that is, as opposed to doing a whole new tract and building as is going on out on the east side of the city, where you've got miles and miles and thousands of new rooftops being built, new shopping centers on every other corner. This is an existing piece of land that has never been developed, and by building on it and infilling the area, we're going to use the same infrastructure, the same sewer system, the same water system. We don't have to construct new electric lines. We don't have to put in new modes of, new roads. The infrastructure already exists, so we're kind of piggybacking on what's already there, and in an attempt to better utilize all of those facilities already in place.
Okay, so one of the pros that both of you have talked about is jobs coming to the area. How many do you think this project would provide for El Paso?
850, I believe, is the latest count.
Okay. You've also held a number of informational meetings, meeting with people who are supporting the project and also against it. Is this something that you experience in all your developments, or the one here in El Paso, is it unusual?
Well, when you're an agent of change, it always engenders some people who have doubts about it. And we fully respect the neighborhood's opinion and their concerns with it. We are making a solemn promise to the city of El Paso that we're going to deliver a project that is going to be iconic. It's going to be something new and beautiful. It's always a matter of opinion. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Some people have called it beautiful. Some people have called it a monstrosity. I think it's all in the eyes of the beholder. I think it's beautiful. I live above it myself. I live right in the neighborhood in Colinas Coronado and look down on it. I think it's been designed in a way that it complements the area. Yes, it's tall, but it's iconic. It's something that's going to give the area focus. There's nothing like it in the area, it's true, but those changes are coming to El Paso on the east side, on the west side, whether I bring it or somebody else brings it. They're in the offing. And so I think that as we step into the 21st century, I think El Paso has to be open to change. That's, of course, my own opinion.
Yeah. What would you say to the critics who say, there goes my view?
Well, you have to see exactly where these people live. One of the reasons why we chose to put it in this area is because we feel that this is a large commercial corridor, and the subsequent uses around the land is commercial. So it's not like we chose to put this development right in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and we respected that about the community as well. And another reason why we chose to put it there is because there's already an existing tower there. And so for us to build a tower, we don't want to put it in an area where somebody hasn't already had this idea before. So the developer who originally put this tower there, he said to himself, and the city agreed, that that this would be a good place for a tower, and if there were going to be views that were affected, that this would be an appropriate place to mitigate those discrepancies on the view.
All right. Again, you've had a number of informational meetings. I was at one where you told some of the people who are opposed to this project, you told them it's not set in stone yet and you would be open to compromise. What could that look like? A shorter building?
Well, it could. I mean, we've considered it all our options, everything from the 22-story building that we're contemplating to something lower. But we feel that the height of the building really complements the area and really brings the whole mountainside into focus and perspective, as opposed to other people who might not feel that way. We're in a mountain setting, and I think that height really makes a statement. As far as a change, we're pretty set on our course, and it would be very expensive at this point to start altering our plans. Will we consider it? I think we'd consider it. We're pretty open, but we're pretty far down the road to really seriously make a change.
All right. Well, we're going to take a real quick break. Remember, you're watching ABC-7 Extra. When we come back, you're going to hear from a couple of people opposed to this project. They don't want it in their backyard. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Some say the proposed Shadow Mountain project would increase property values, while others worried the opposite would happen. ABC-7's Andrew Polk asked some experts for their opinions.
A lot of claims are going around about what the impact will be if the 22-story West Side Tower gets built.
We see that people in the community really want growth and want the development.
Chelsea Lamego supports the idea, claiming that property values will go up as a result.
Having a building like that really makes the area more desirable to not only people in El Paso, but people who might be considering moving to El Paso.
But people like Kristen Ingram say it will have the opposite effect.
It would potentially hurt our property values as well. Having something that could block a lot of views is a downside, and that in and of itself can hurt the value of the area as well.
There's little doubt that there will be an impact on the view by building that 22-story tower here on this west side lot. But what local experts say is that it won't impact property values that much, at least when it comes to the view.
I don't see that as a big overriding factor where that's going to severely impact values in this particular area.
Michael Bray with nearby Exit West Realty says lots in the area are rarely sold for their views.
The value is in the location or the amenities as opposed to any views that it might have.
And amenities could increase in the area. That's one of the expectations of commercial real estate broker Juan Uribe.
So something like this is definitely make LOEs or Pelicans busier, and then because of that, there's going to be other businesses that are going to grow in the area. So we might have more restaurants interested now that we have more people.
People opposed right now say they wouldn't mind if that came true, as long as the city addresses the traffic.
I don't like any of the other issues either, but the biggest issue for me is that traffic.
Andrew J. Polk, ABC-7.
And welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. Joining us now is Lindsay Cronmiller from the watchdog group El Paso Bright, and again Stuart Myers, the chairman of the Myers Group. Thank you both for being with us. Lindsay, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your group. I'm not familiar with it.
So El Paso Bright is it's just a community association, and our whole goal is to make sure City Council and our government takes into consideration all the impacts of a development. So we are all for a development on that lot. We want to see amenities, we want to see a walkable community, but we have a lot of questions that don't seem to be addressed.
Okay, so first of all, you live in the area.
I live 3 blocks. Yes.
Okay, so you're all for the development. What in particular about this Shadow Mountain project has you concerned? What's your number one issue, you think?
The number one issue is 22 stories. So that is 100 feet taller than the other tower that's near there. That's much larger than any other building. All the other businesses are 1 or 2 stories. That's 10 to 20 feet. So our goal, and city planners recommended that the height of the building be lowered before the zoning commission, and the zoning commission decided to go ahead and ignore that recommendation.
Okay, so let me stop you there for a second. 22 stories. How did you come up with that?
Well, I mean, in configuring what we think would be supported by the market, both for our hotel idea as well as for the number of units that we want to build, and keeping in mind what Josh said before about the green space in the area, wanting to preserve some green space, some pocket parks, and basically a community facility where people could feel comfortable to come and congregate in whatever restaurants or other venues we put in there for entertainment. That was the right height. It just happened to work in terms of the architectural design of the building and what we felt was appropriate for the area. I mean, we could have gone 35 or 40, or we could have gone 10. We felt 22 was the appropriate number. It worked from an economic point of view for the most part, but also from a design point of view.
What would make you and your group happy? The height.
One of our concerns with allowing a 22-story building is it's going to attract like-minded developments. So we allow one 22-story building, and then what happens when they allow a 50-story building, and then a 60-story building, and then we have another downtown. We have another city center, and maybe that's right for El Paso, but I don't think it is. I don't think it's right for this neighborhood, and traffic will increase substantially, and there's just no way around that, and there's really no way to fix the infrastructure to make that happen.
Okay, so we're going to hold for a moment. We're going to take a call from Nadia out on the west side. Nadia.
I just want to speak to the project. It seems like there's a lot of people that are doing this that are from out of town, including yourselves, that are from Florida and not from El Paso and don't really see the benefits of our city, being that we have our beautiful mountains, and don't really see.
Okay, she cut off there, but I'll try and paraphrase. Basically, Nadia was saying that she's worried that you are from out of town, that you're from Florida, and may not appreciate the complexity of El Paso. You do live in Florida, but you also live here in El Paso, and you have been familiar with the city for many years.
That's correct. My entire wife's family lives in this town and have for close to 30 years. I have two sisters-in-law who both have families. My mother-in-law has been a long, long time resident here. I've maintained a home myself here in town for 10 years. In fact, I live right above the property that we're going to be developing on Chatham Mountain, and I look down at it. So from my point of view, you know, having been around the city for many years and having many friends in this town, I think I am pretty aware, and I'm very committed to what I feel is the benefit and the growth of the town and the city. So when I think about bringing a product to this town, I think about how it's going to affect the city and how people are going to receive it. And I know there are people that are concerned about it, and I certainly respect their opinion. But I feel that it's something that once it's built, the city's going to be very proud of it. And I think you may be right, Lindsay. There may be more of this type of development to come, but that's the way growth happens. Will it be 50 stories? Will it be 80 stories? I don't know. But many, many cities have grown in that direction. You take a city, our neighbor Houston has several downtown areas. Whether this is the right area for it, I couldn't say. I just know and feel in my heart that this is the right area for this particular project. Whether somebody's coming in tomorrow and building more stories, I don't know. But I think it's going to be a terrific amenity for the community, even though there are concerns. I think they will be allayed.
Okay. Your reaction to that?
Well, you say you live right above it, but I live right below you.
Okay.
And so you look down on the building, but the 220 people who live in my neighborhood will look up at it. So when we walk out from our front doors, we'll see a giant building. When we look in our backyards and relax and swim in our pools, we'll look up at a giant building, which is not what we expected when we moved in and we bought our house. And that goes to the question of property values. So yes, some properties will increase, and I fully understand that. I fully understand the commercial properties will increase, the amenities, but there are properties that will lose value, and it is City Council's responsibility, mandated by the state of Texas, to make sure that property values remain or increase. That is their job, and one of our main goals is to make sure that City Council looks through the impact of the entire project.
But what would you say to people who say you never own the view?
You don't own the view. But people buy houses for the view. People move to El Paso for the view. People move to El Paso for the...
Or try to own the city of El Paso.
He said that this project may be undermining other projects happening in downtown El Paso. Was it just that you didn't feel for sure that a project like this would pay off in downtown?
No, not at all. In fact, we have some plans for downtown as well, and we're very, very excited about. In fact, we recently responded to an RFP for another high-rise downtown. We're very much involved in and very much a proponent of developing downtown. This is a whole different area, it's true, but I think it complements downtown. It gives a whole new vibrancy to the growth of El Paso, that it's not singularly devoted to just one area. The entire area is growing, and it's needs alternative lifestyles, alternative housing opportunities. We think we're bringing that to a broader stretch of El Paso. So I really think the two are separate, but yet interconnected.
Okay, we're going to take a short break again. Remember, you're watching ABC-7 Extra. Still ahead, we're going to hear from another person who is opposed to this project, and you are a guest on this show. We want to hear your calls. We'll be right back. Go ahead and just say your name for us, if you would, sir.
Mr. Stapler, we get a mic check, please.
Just say
Hello, my name is Charlie Stapler.
Welcome back. The El Paso City Council is expected to take a vote on the zoning of the proposed Shadow Mountain project on July 12th, and already it has some early support.
And my only thoughts are, if Mesa Street is a state highway, why isn't the state taking care of that? And El Paso is not going to be.
They had to have done a lot of research and to make sure that it was going to work. It's a company that's been around a while, and a company that just wouldn't say, well, I'm just going to do $100 million, had not done their due diligence. For them to do that and then come back and say it's going to work and we want to invest in El Paso is a huge compliment.
You know, it was something new to El Paso, and it would be help to boost our economy, having an upscale project like that. You're talking about apartments and hotels, which, you know, and a high-rise at that.
Okay, so it sounded like we had maybe a caller, a part of a call at the beginning of that. We'll try to get back to that caller. That was the mayor and city council member Carl Robinson weighing in. They both support this. Charlie, tell us why you don't.
Well, it's not that I don't support this, but I think, like Lindsay had said, it's a little high. Now, I think we could do well with something maybe a little shorter, but on the other hand, there's a few details I've noticed about this that haven't really been addressed properly.
And they are?
Okay, the one issue that I have, and maybe Stuart can answer it because Josh didn't quite hit the right note, is the entryway into it. Is the fact that part of that is on private property of somebody else's ownership. And have they, just Stuart, have you actually secured the right-of-way at this time? Or are you going to have this secured in the very near future?
As far as I understand it, Charlie, the entry is going to be through Pebble Beach. And it's going to circle around what would be the upper portion of the project, and then wind its way in, and then exit back again through Pebble Beach. So I believe we own, or will own, or we already own, the entry point itself. Whether we're going to dedicate that to the city is a matter of future development in terms of our interest in connecting Pebble Beach to Mesa, but unfortunately our land stops at a point where somebody else's land takes over. So it's really not up to me. Will I and will our organization seek to connect it to Mesa to alleviate the traffic? Of course we will, but it's going to take some working out of those details with our neighbors. But I will pursue that because I think it's good for the property and good for the neighborhood. And good for the city.
Is traffic your only big concern?
Oh, no. It's not that. Okay, okay. If you're going to have a grand hotel, you should actually have a grand entrance. And the way this thing is winding around, it looks like you're going through a back alley to get to the front door. And that doesn't appear really, really sophisticated or, you know, luxurious for the visitors here in El Paso.
Okay.
Well, Charlie, I can assure you that we have never, or we have in mind brought Kobe Karp into this because he's designed many hotels, both upscale as well as limited service. If we bring a hotel, it will only be an upscale hotel. So I fully agree with you that this would have to have a grand entrance. And the way that it will be configured will be a grand entrance, even though it may come around. That design will be enhanced by the drop-off point and the area in front of where the hotel will be configured. So our interest and our plan is very much to put in a grand entrance, even though it's coming around the back will become the front in effect.
Okay, let's take a couple calls real quick. We got Bob and Luis out from the west side.
And my only thoughts are, if Mesa Street is a state highway, why isn't the state taking care of that? And El Paso is not going to be out any money in correcting the traffic problems on Mesa Street, if any should occur from this. So we can certainly have our cake and eat it too, because the state will pick up the traffic problem that might result on Mesa Street.
Charlie, you familiar with that?
A little bit. There is some jurisdiction, and the state actually has jurisdiction on Mesa Street because it is a highway. But in most cases, because of the fact that Shadow Mountain and conversely the other street across, which is Sunland Park, are city property, and they would have to have the city do whatever controls necessary before it enters Mesa. It is complicated. I've talked to the people out in let's see, I think it's Pickett's, because he is the chair for the highway system, and I had some conversations with him. It gets a little complicated, believe me. But the thing is, since Shadow Mountain is a city street, the city would have to do something about it.
Okay, one more call.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment in regards to the development that's going to be happening. I think it's pretty ridiculous and how people are against this development. It's going to bring growth to the area, it's going to bring jobs. And I'm telling you right now, if this project does not go through because of folks that are against it, you will guarantee there will be no developers that will want to come to El Paso and do this type of work. It's a $100 million project that they want to put down here in El Paso. I think it's a smart idea that we need to do this.
So we had a caller for this project. You say you're not exactly 100% against it. What compromise would you ask for?
Well, the first thing would be the height. I mean, we actually...
Do you have a number?
Actually, cutting it in half would be, a great way. But I understand that's not feasible. Okay, I can understand that. So somewhere between the 11 and 22, and maybe come down to some kind of negotiated settlement. I'd be willing to watch this and actually even support it. So at this point, but the thing is, right now, it's for us, it's a kind of a queasy feeling for the people that I represent.
Okay, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, let me respond to Charlie. I honestly, in my own mind, think that it would be not a good compromise in the sense that we would have to, maintaining the same number of units, maintaining the same amount of commercial space, we would have to spread out much more. We would be losing green area, we'd be losing green space, and frankly, in my mind, I don't really understand what the difference is between 22 stories and 15 stories. I kind of, in my mind, feel that nobody's going to be able to look over it that much more. It really, to me, is an issue of the recognizability and the iconic nature of the building. And I think that being designed as 22 stories gives it a certain perspective that has never been there and is going to be something unusual and different for the community and for the city. So I understand your desire to want to compromise, but we're so far down the road, that's not really the reason. The reason that I believe that it's the right architecture to bring to the community, and it's a matter of economics as well, Charlie.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. I want to thank you both for giving us your perspective on this project. Certainly the story is not over, and it is one that we are going to continue to follow. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Download the ABC